Welcome back to Chapter Chumps, a reading podcast where three guys read a book and then talk about it. Today on the podcast, we are going to be discussing JD Salinger's The Catcher in the Rye. Ever heard of it? It's a little hidden gem. Catcher in the Rye. I am your host. My name is Connor. I am joined as ever by my two co-hosts, Connor and Josh. Welcome, boys. Please rise for the inaugural celebratory can crack. Fucking hell. There we go. All right. And now the podcast can officially begin.
What are you boys drinking tonight?
Josh,
same thing I drink every night.
Straight whiskey out of a bottle, really.
Water. I was trying to think how I can make that the same cadence as try to take over the world, but
that's what you call it.
Couldn't bring it together.
Yeah.
You call it water.
Because he drinks it like water, right?
I mean, I am part Irish, so.
Yeah. I'm drinking a Sour Monkey.
Sour Monkey. What part of the monkey does that come from?
Connor, if I told you, I think it would derail our discussion for the rest of the night because you'd have a lot of follow-up questions on where I even procured such a chimp.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
It's the ears.
Could be.
Yeah. And Connor, you have a Coke Zero?
Yeah, Coke Zero Cherry. I also have got a backup Pepsi Zero Sugar. It's like about 3/4 full. I am interested to see if it is still if it's flat yet or not. We'll see.
How long have you been hanging on to that one?
Clearly, it's round.
It's been a couple days in the fridge.
Nice one, Josh.
But it's locked tight though, so it's hard to say. You never know.
Yeah, it might be good in a bottle. You know, it's kind of funny that it kind of feels like you're tempting the gods a little bit in a way. Coke and a Pepsi back to back.
Yeah, you know, I do live dangerously, as they say.
Yeah,
it's called the Devil's Duo.
Yeah. No, I've heard that. You can't get that from a monkey. I'll tell you that.
No, you can't. It's not for the faint of heart. You know, they won't even serve you that in a bar.
No,
because
it's always one or the other.
Yeah, because most restaurants they only have one or the other because they have deals with the company. So if it's actually illegal to drink that in public or at a restaurant. Yeah. So you'd get arrested.
Yeah. That's true.
It's why the recipes are such closely guarded secrets. If you mix them together, it can cause some really, really bad issues.
Exactly. Like you ever heard of Pop Rocks and Coke? It's like that, but times 10.
Probably even more than times 10 because Pop Rocks and Coke is pretty tame.
Times
really.
11.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, we all know that. We know that one kid that died.
Together, it attracts the feds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know that one kid who died from taking Pop Rocks and Coke. Is that where that was going?
Yeah.
That was disproven on Mythbusters, I think.
No, we knew that. We knew that kid, Josh. We hung out with them.
I'm pretty sure that's what happened to Holden's brother. That's my prediction.
Yeah.
Wait, you guys look?
Yeah,
sorry, I thought you were on a bit, and then you went into the book. I was like, wait, what?
That's what we do around here, Josh. It's a bit.
Didn't it straight up say it was leukemia?
Well, that's what caused his leukemia.
It's a bit of a bit and a bit of a book. That's what we do here.
It was the Pepsi Coke combination that caused the leukemia.
Yeah, that's why you can't have both, because it'll fuck you up. All right. Well, it has been a while, as they say and as they sing, since we've talked about a book. We are here talking about a book today, boys. And
Yes, we are.
Goodness,
Book boys are back.
book.
The
Not
book
a movie,
boys are back.
not a short story, you know.
The book boys are back.
It's three guys reading a book, you know. So
I had to look up when Pepsi and Coke came out. I knew Coke was in the 1800s. Pepsi is about a little older, actually.
Now, did you
I don't
guys?
believe that.
How was your like? Did you remember how to read? Was everything okay? Like, or did you have to like relearn a little bit how to read because it's been such a long time? I mean, for me, I had to like look up what like there's some letters that I just glanced over. I was just like, what is that new? Is that a new one or
Right?
you know?
They just came out with a new J.
Yeah. So that was a bit of a learning curve for me.
Yeah, I'm glad I hung on to all my old Hooked on Phonics books because every
Yeah.
now and then I crack them open and
I saw something. I saw a tweet the other day, and it like implied that the young generation, like Gen Z or Gen Alpha, they don't learn phonics. Is that true?
I mean, I don't know. It doesn't surprise me to hear that, but at least in my school, they get phonics instruction.
All right,
That's good.
But
that is good.
I don't think it's the same as how it used to be either, you know.
They're not hooked on phonics.
Oh,
they don't
no.
get hooked.
They're just looped into phonics.
That's right. Yeah, that's the problem. You need to hook the kids while they're young.
Yeah.
So
Oops.
Now they're like it's like more like they're hooked on Discord.
Yeah.
Or TikTok.
I mean, we're the ones on Discord, so it seems a little.
Well,
yeah,
but we're the oldest. We're the oldest people that use Discord, though.
You know, you're not wrong. I've seen very few people who are older than me on Discord.
Yeah. They're hooked on Skibbity.
I don't even know if Skibbity Toilet is still cool. They might have dropped that.
I think they dropped the toilet part, but it's still There's still Skibbity, right?
I mean,
it was Skibbity Riz for a while. Now it's like Skibbity. I don't know.
Well, I mean, things they change fast. I can tell you that much.
Skibbity based.
Connor, I don't even.
Skibbity mid.
I think you just sound way out of touch. Do you even know what Italian brain rot is? I mean,
Italian brain rot.
Yeah. See, you're not even qualified to be.
Is that that's the new Ohio?
Well, even Italian brain rot is old.
Saw a video of an Ohio meme like 2 hours ago.
Well, I'll tell you what, the kids are still on 6-7. That's.
I just learned about 6-7 actually on a podcast. I just learned about what 6-7 was.
And you're late. You're about like 8 months late.
Wow. I guess I'm late on that one too. I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah.
Because people they were like lamenting like, oh, back in our day 6-9 was the funny number. Right, now it's 6-7.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
what a world.
Weird.
Yeah.
What a world.
The one that I actually kind of enjoyed recently was the meme of the new robot slur, which is just clankers, which has been in the Clone Wars for 20 years.
Josh, we don't use slurs on this podcast.
Well, I mean, we are pretty staunchly, against AI. I think maybe in this case we can allow it.
Probably.
This is it's like in 50 years, this will be like how they treat Song of the South. It'll be like they're before this podcast airs, there'll be like a graphic that says, we don't endorse these views anymore, but this is how it was back then.
Actually, we probably should have that disclaimer. We should just get ahead of the game.
Yeah, because Connor hates everything that we ever put out about 5 minutes after we finish recording.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Wait, which Connor? Me?
You? Yeah.
Obviously. We should let's unprivate all of our old videos, but just make sure there's a disclaimer before them.
Right. We don't.
We know these are bad. We know these are bad. They were bad then. They're bad now. Just wanted to let you know.
But the fun kind of bad.
And here they are.
Idiot kids with a camera bad.
Yeah.
I mean, That's the first thing we're gonna do when you die. Just by the way.
Well, it's a good thing I'm gonna outlive both of you. So
You sure about that?
We'll see about that.
You know, I think the worse that I take care of myself, the more likely I'm going to outlive you. Just as like a cosmic joke of the universe. Yeah,
that's probably true.
Like whenever they interview someone who lives past 100, and it's like, oh yeah, you know, what's your secret? They're like, oh, I smoke a pack a day. I eat a pine cone before bed, and it's like, how are you walking around?
There's a Scrubs line about that. Some Dr. Cox lamenting the like pack a day smoker living in their 80s and the star track athlete dying in their 30s.
Yeah,
something like that.
It's the way of the world.
Even though, like, obviously
that's a very real phenomenon.
Well, we all know that eating McDonald's every day is the real secret.
All those preservatives.
Yeah, it coats the inside of your body.
Yeah,
like, I mean, it's possible we all live forever because we're all full of microplastics.
Yeah, maybe microplastics are actually a good thing.
They're not, but
we just don't know yet.
It's nice to hope a little bit, though.
Research, not enough research.
You guys are still on microplastics? Because I've been eating macroplastics these days, just to get ahead of the curve.
You're not supposed to eat the plastic fork with your lunch, but I can't stop you.
Well, they do. They're flavoring them now, so it's hard to resist. I've taken a few bites.
Yeah, who hasn't taken a bite out of the old macroplastic? I'll tell you what.
12 minutes in, we should probably start talking about a book.
I tell you what, kids these days are way different than the kids we're reading about in Catcher in the Rye.
Kids in our day were way different from the kids we're reading about in this book.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like, I don't know. I don't want to sound too
I felt really weird saying kids in our day.
but like, does it kind of feel like the kids that were like the 16-year-old in this book is closer to the 16-year-old that we grew up with than the 16-year-old in 2025? Is that crazy to say?
I mean, yes and no. It's crazy because yes, we're closer because we're older, and the book's set in the 50s. Like it literally is closer.
I just feel like there's some commonality though.
But you're all right. Yeah, there is a lot of commonality here because I mean, when we were 16, that's right around when cell phones were just starting to pick up.
Yeah, I mean, who goes to the movies with their friends anymore?
Right.
They did back in my day.
Who goes to the movies anymore?
I mean, it's certainly different, and I do find myself. Of course, we're going to be talking about this a lot, I think, but this is a book that's commonly assigned to students to read when they're in school, and I think a big part of that is, Holden Caulfield is meant to be relatable to a certain kind of adolescent, coming of age kind of deal. And so I do think there's commonality, and I think even today people would find commonality. But you know what I was thinking is, like, Holden keeps talking about all this. He's like, oh, I just did this because I was bored. I did this just because I felt like it. I'm like, this kid would have been diagnosed ADHD autistic from the time he was like 7. And, like he would have been already... he would not be acting the way he is now at 16 because they would have clocked him.
Yeah,
they would have given him Roblox.
Yeah,
here's a Roblox prescription.
Is this going to be the bit the whole night now, Connor?
Yeah, I can't stop I'm sorry. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Yeah,
he was doing it on impulse.
Yeah,
I will say, this is probably the protagonist of the book of any of our books that we've read so far that I can relate to the least.
Yeah.
And
really?
Yeah.
Oh, obviously. No. Obviously. I'm sorry. I forgot you were you for a second.
Here's the thing. When I was reading it, I can see why Connor Mack would be like so related to this.
What
Would
the
find this character
fuck
super
are-
relatable.
What are you fucking trying to say? Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're two
No,
very different personalities, and
I get it.
yeah,
I
it was
get
hard for me. It was hard for me to relate to this character so far. We're only 5 chapters
Yeah.
in,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I found myself almost literally rolling my eyes at some of the things he was saying. It's like, you stupid idiot.
Yeah.
Just listen to these people around you. Stop just stop just I'm trying to think of a good example, but he's just like, he's daydreaming, he's not focusing. He's like, just focus, do the quick little thing that you need to do here that'll make this social interaction smooth over, and then you can make your way out. It's the whole thing was just I think part of it's the actual like writing style, but we can get into that more later. But it's just his personality is very abrasive to me in particular, I think.
Josh,
So
would you say you feel like it's time for Holden to put away his toys and get out of the sandbox, maybe?
Oh my god.
not the what's the word I'm looking for?
Not exactly. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
not the analogy I'd go with. No.
Not exactly that. Okay.
That's Josh. Just for your you know, just to explain it to you, that's a direct quote from my grandfather. That something he said to both me and Connor once.
Okay.
Yeah, that sticks with me. Yeah, let's talk about this book a little bit. We're talking about JD Salinger's The Catcher in the Rye. I got myself a hardcover copy here from Thrift Books.
Oh, nice.
Is it like there's no big hole in it, right?
There's no big hole in it. I got the whole book.
Okay, good. All right. Did you tell Josh about that?
No, because so when I ordered this book, Josh, I also ordered Frank Herbert's biography written by his son called Dreamer of Dune, and I don't have it next to me, so I'm not going to get up and get it. But it was literally, it seemed like it was fine, and then you open it up, and in the middle of the book, it's cut out to put in like a secret compartment. Yes.
Oh wow.
Yes. And
you still have it?
I do have it, and in fact, I messaged Thrift Books to be like, "Hey, my book is broken," and they said they were going to send me another one, and then I don't even have to return the other one, so I'm going to keep it.
That's awesome. You can use it to hide your gun.
Yeah, that's right.
I was going to just suggest something, but that's a little too specific, I think.
Yeah.
If you hadn't yet married your wife, you could hide the engagement ring in there, but
that's right. Maybe I'll hide the other one in there too.
The other engagement ring?
Yeah. Don't worry, we're putting a disclaimer at the beginning of the episode that everything we say on here is a joke. It's funny.
So
funny.
We're
having a laugh. Come on.
No, yeah.
So I have a soft cover, and I think it's the first time I walked into a Barnes and Noble and was like, all right, I gotta find the classic books, I suppose, just to go find this. I look down at the table. That's literally the first table you walk into the front door, and this is in the center of the table amongst a pile of other like go read a banned book kind of displays. And I was like, oh, there we go, I'll take that.
Nice.
I think it's the quickest I've gone into a store and found exactly what I was looking for, like,
Josh,
ever.
Did you say it was the first time you walked into a Barnes and Noble?
No, it's the first time I walked into a Barnes & Noble and saw what I was looking for. Like, literally the first table once you go in there. I will go Barnes & Noble all the time. Yeah. Mostly in the holidays, but...
I mean, they have good Lego sets there, don't they?
They do. I've been buying directly from Lego, though, so I can build up points, though.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that I still had my copy of Catcher in the Rye. But I've had it for a long, long time. I forget when I got this. But it's been
Looks like it's in good condition.
It's in good condition, yeah. But I don't like. It's definitely been over a decade since I've.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Is that your first copy, or?
I think it must be. I don't think I have bought 2 copies of Catcher in the Rye. Like, I think it must be my first copy. I don't know if. Maybe at some point after I read it initially, I bought it again. Maybe I read it from some like a read like a library copy and then bought it for myself at some point. I'm thinking, but I've had it for a long time now. And then I also discovered I have a biography of JD Salinger as well. I just totally forgot that I had
Oh,
these.
cool.
I don't think I've ever read that biography, but I do have it.
That's cool, man. Yeah. And I guess briefly, Connor and I, we've already said a few times that we read this book when we were in school. I think it was assigned to us. I mean, I read it because it was assigned to me. I remember the class. I want to say it was my 6th grade. I don't. Is 6th grade too early? I really can't remember now.
6th grade is too early because I chose it for a book report. Like I was able to pick the book and I picked Catcher in the Rye. And I was told it was either in 6th or 7th grade. I was told, oh, this is like a higher, like this is like a high school or 8th grade at
Really?
least reading level. Yeah. So
camera focusing.
Okay.
But I was still allowed to read
grade,
it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, 8th or 9th grade I think is the sweet spot there.
Because when I read it, it was like, back you'd be in an English class and the teacher would get a class set of a book and you all would read it. I don't even know if they still do that, not to sound like the old guy now. I can tell you that in elementary school they don't, and they did do that when I was in elementary school, and not anymore. That I can tell you, and it's not a joke. They don't do that anymore. I hope they do it in middle school, but I got no clue.
I had completely forgotten about walking into class and just seeing the piles of books on the teacher's desk and knowing we were about to start a new book. I miss that now.
Yeah. I mean, hell, in elementary school, they had you reading Holes because of Winn-Dixie. Fucking, what was that, like 1,000 Paper Cranes?
I remember 1,000 Paper Cranes, yeah.
Yeah. I
remember
they had 10-year-olds reading those books. You could be 9 and read that fucking book. No 9-year-old can read that book today. I'm sorry. All right, I'm going to get upset.
Yeah.
Josh, or Connor.
And it's all the kids' fault.
Oh, yeah, I'm not going to take any fucking blame for that. You kidding me? let's
We're
blame
not the problem.
As the English teacher.
Yeah. Let's blame the children. And then we'll put the disclaimer back up that this is all a joke.
Yeah.
It's just like flashing on and off the entire show.
We should just have the joke button that, like that's negative space on either side of the bottom person, which is me today.
We need
just
that.
little like red sirens. This is a joke.
We need that. Connor, can you...
Because people don't understand sarcasm or context anymore. No critical reading skills.
We're past that. We're post context. Yes. Connor, can you speak to being that little kid who read this book maybe just a little bit prior to the recommended reading level or age level, and can you maybe speak to what it is about this book or why you were inspired to read it? I think I know some of that backstory, but I'm just curious to hear you tell it, and then I want to get Josh's take as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was a book that was I was excited to read, primarily because there is a Green Day song called "Who Wrote Holden Caulfield," which you can listen to. Connor and I talk about that song on our Green Dudes podcast. That's up there on our podcast feed. Talk a little bit about Catcher in the Rye, I think. It was Billy Joe from Green Day's favorite book. I was like, oh, it's kind of cool. And then not only that, but Gerard Way from My Chemical Romance. It's also was his favorite book. So I was like, I need to read this freaking book as this like 12-year-old kid or 13-year-old. I forget. It was before I moved from Clifton Park. I was still living in Clifton Park, so
that would have been 6th or 7th grade.
6th or 7th grade, yeah. So I read it, and it like, I don't know. They said it was like a higher reading level. I don't think I remember finding it particularly challenging back then. But yeah, I was happy to read, and I mean, it really was kind of like uh yeah, like a moment like, oh, I really do genuinely relate to a lot of this character. I was also like failing everything at that point, but like before I moved, part of why I was so relieved that I was moving was because I was like really fucking failing every class in Arcadia. Acadia,
Acadia.
Acadia,
Arcadia.
Acadia,
Yeah.
Arcadia,
Arcadia is
Acadia.
the
I
national
know.
park.
It's, um,
It tripped me up too. Don't worry.
yeah, and so then of course I moved, and the same thing happened there. But uh, so yeah, it was a very relatable story, pretty much immediately for me.
Gotcha. And Josh, I know we've already mentioned this is your first time reading through the book, but do
It is.
you have anything to share on like I don't know, just like do you have any past experience with this book or hearing about it or things like that?
I mean, I've certainly heard about it. I mean, it's such a classic. How do you not? It was never assigned to me in class, which is a little strange, seeing as it was assigned to you, and Connor had got to choose it. So, seeing as Connor and I were in the same grade, it's probably about when I read the Odyssey, if I had to guess, because I remember
All
reading.
right, don't go fucking bragging.
That is
I
kind
know,
of
I'm not
a
trying to
one-off.
brag.
That
I'm
is
just like
absolutely
I
one-off
remember
in
there
there.
being a reading assignment, and like trying to remember what I would have chosen. It's like at that point I probably would have gone for something like the Odyssey because I remember doing that, and that was like the last book assignment that I remember like getting to choose.
Yeah.
Um,
This motherfucker's gonna read a book 2 grade levels ahead. I'm gonna read the fucking Odyssey.
Yeah, I mean, I read
I
the
mean,
Odyssey.
it was a mistake. Let me be clear.
I read that when I was in college. So,
Yeah, I mean, I was a voracious reader back in middle high school. I mean, that's right around when I started reading the Star Wars books and was just tearing through shit. I mean, that's how I got through. But by high school, I talked about it when we were doing Hitchhiker's Guide. I read the Hitchhiker's Guide books like each book in about 2 days each,
yeah.
just tearing through them during school. Um, so yeah, I don't know how this one got by me. Um, but the first 5 chapters that we read for today, I'm not sure it would have grabbed me if I had chosen to do it myself. This would have had to be one of those books that I was forced to read, and it wasn't forced upon me, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I know it wasn't forced upon me. I think it would have been something I would have had to have been forced to read before now.
Right. And in a way, you kind of are forced to read it now. So,
yes, because I did not use my veto on
it. Yeah, I think we're kind of in for a pretty interesting book discussion. And I'm not surprised to hear your initial thoughts on it, Josh. I kind of felt like,
yeah.
I thought that this might prove to be a divisive read for the three of us, which will be interesting. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, I'm holding out. I'm reserving judgment until we're done with the book, obviously, but first 5 chapters, not thrilling for me so far.
Well,
in fact, quite frustrating in some instances.
Let's talk about those.
Well, how about you, Connor? Do you have anything to say about your first time around the first time
the rye
I'm
patch?
catching in the rye?
Sort of. I feel like I only remember like 2 things from this book, and I think they happen in like the last third of the book. So it's not that I don't think this book made a very strong impression on me, but like strong enough that like I have memories of reading it. And I guess what I mean by that is like, not specifically, not like, oh yeah, I remember reading like this part always stuck with me, but like something about the book cover, like it's kind of like a sensory memory. I feel like I can like remember what it was like to sit in, that row of desks in my English classroom, whatever year that would have been, whether that was late middle I can't say for sure, but like this book makes me think about being in school, and it makes me think about like the kind of like despondency that Holden Caulfield is kind of living with as well. The thing that I think is relatable, that I guess, like when I was in my adolescence and coming of age that way, like I was definitely a kid who felt like above a lot of things, and with like no reason to,
Yeah, I can confirm.
With absolutely no legitimacy, no justification, just
again, I can confirm.
Just a just a really sad kind of like ego, of growing up, and that's like a very cliche kind of teen experience, to be like, no one else gets this shit, and so like whenever Holden has like these little internal kind of conversations with himself about like, he can only like fixate on this one aspect of this person, or think about this superficial detail, or it really brings me back to being a kid and just being like, wow, I kind of fucking hate the person that I was. To Josh's point about how Holden Caulfield is this frustrating character. When I think back and I think about like relating to Holden Caulfield, I think like, wow, like what a sad character to relate to. What a kind of pathetic figure he sort of is. But hey, I don't know. So we'll talk about it. I don't know. I don't remember that much of the book. I think there's like two things I remember, but of course I'm not going to talk about them now. I'll talk about them as they come up, but I'm pretty sure they happen toward the end of the book. I did remember that he had a dead brother. So I don't know. There you go. I was kind of thinking, I wanted to ask you guys, typically how this would go is I would give a chapter summation, and then we would do chapter by chapter discussion. I kind of feel like we have felt like maybe that overextends the podcast in a way that has been unnecessary. What if I just give a broad overview of all 5 chapters, and then we just have our discussion? Do you think that would be better?
I was going to suggest the same thing, because I only took 4 notes for these 5 chapters.
For this kind of book, that would probably be a better way to go.
Okay.
Because like, I mean, it's funny because we read 5 chapters, but really like not that much happens over the course of these 5 chapters.
Yeah. It still feels like one continuous scene going through the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes place in the span of half a night so far.
Right. And I did.
Oh no, it does go to the weekend in the last chapter. Never mind.
It's funny how the first chapter starts, and Holden's like, "Oh, okay. I guess if you really want to know, I'll tell you about like I'll start from just when I was leaving Pensy Prep." And I was like, "Oh, this is going to be like the first chapter, and then we'll get like all the stuff that happens after Pensy Prep and whatever, right?" Mm-hmm. And then like we keep reading, and I'm like, "Wait a minute, how fucking long does this go on for?"
Yeah, he doesn't leave Pensy Prep yet. We're 5 chapters in.
Yeah. Which, do we have the same copy? Are we all 51 pages in now? Just out of sheer curiosity.
Depends on what Connor's copy does.
Yeah, chapter 6 starts 52 for me.
Okay.
Nice. This might be a first.
This might be the first time, yeah.
Yeah, because we thought it was going to be Left-Handed Darkness, but Connor's copy was different from ours.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was funny. All right, so briefly, so chapter 1, it starts off, Holden's on the hill. We kind of get this sort of framing device where he's telling the story to us, the reader, and it seems like he's past the events, of course, like of the story that we're reading now. It's like a year on, I think. He's like, I'll tell you everything about like last Christmas or so, I think is how he puts it, around last Christmas, when he was leaving Pensy Prep, blah, blah, blah. Feels like we're kind of set up to be like, okay, like where's this going? And why does this even matter? And like, what's going to happen, you know? Because it's kind of a quaint sort of start. And we learn a lot about Holden's life and sort of just the way his mind works. And the chapter ends. He ends up running to old Spencer, who is the history professor there. He's gonna say goodbye to him because he's gonna be leaving Pensy Prep. He's going to be kicked out. Chapter 2, we have the lecture at old Spencer's. That pretty much is the whole chapter, and that's a whole thing. And Holden immediately regrets being there, and he's like, "Oh my fucking god, I have to get the fuck out of here." And then he does. And chapter 3, he goes back to his dorm room, and then we have this long interaction with Ackley, who is like his dorm neighbor. Yeah, he's disgusting. And then at the end of that chapter, his roommate Stradlater barges in. Chapter 4, Holden hangs out with Stradlater in the bathroom while he's getting ready for his date. And then he learns about Stradlater's date, and it's this girl named Jane who Holden knows from like 2 years prior, and suddenly he's like very excited and like interested and curious, and there's I think a lot to read into that. And so Stradlater goes out on his date with Jane, and Holden's back in his dorm room, and he's like very preoccupied with like, oh man, he's out on this date with Jane. And so he kind of has this boys' night out with Ackley and this other guy. And they go to the movies, but they both saw the movie, so they didn't actually go to the movies at all, and they just hung out. And then he goes back to his room, and then he writes the paper for Stradlater, and he writes all about his dead brother's baseball mitt. And there we go. That's the first 5 chapters.
What a ride.
What a ride. It is fun because it's like Connor's right. You guys are both right. It's like, yeah, not a lot happens, but kind of a lot happens.
You
like,
do learn a lot.
Yes, yeah. A lot happens. You know what I want to start with, and I think Josh was kind of touching on this point. I thought this like right away. The first sentence of this book is like this weird run-on sentence, and I feel like it really sets you up for the way Salinger like writes to kind of reflect Holden's stream of consciousness. And he says, if you really want to hear about it, the first thing you'll probably want to know is where I was born and what my lousy childhood was like and how my parents were occupied and all before they had me and all that David Copperfield kind of crap. But I don't feel like going into it if you want to know the truth, period. I read that sentence and I was like, this just flies in the face of conventional wisdom. It's funny like how classic of a book this is. But I feel like the way it's written and the way that Salinger uses his writing style to characterize Holden Caulfield, it's like, yeah, it's a classic. So for decades, people have been reading the book and analyzing it. And it's like, oh, wow, what a genius. But honestly, I feel like if you tried to give this to a publisher today, they would be like, this is dog shit. You have to write this again because this fucking sucks. And it's just crazy, like the expectations of, I don't know, prose and writing over time. This book is written very bizarrely. What do you guys make of that?
I think it's, I don't know, part of it is, I feel like is deliberately doing this, and part of me wonders if it is deliberate. But yeah, it's like I'm noticing things that I keep hearing you don't want to do when you write. And that's, like you said, run-on sentences. I feel like there's a very like I have trouble defining a passive voice. I can feel the passive voice in this writing the entire time. There's a lot of
repetitive ideas, mostly because it's a stream of consciousness, and so Holden just has all these repetitive, like, keeps repeating himself, especially when Jane comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
And it's to the point where his roommate is very much like, "Hey, dude, stop repeating yourself," which is like, "Thank you." Um, but yeah, it's very run on sentence and very run on. It doesn't flow the way I would like it to flow. I think that's why I have difficulty with the text itself.
Mm. And when you say it doesn't flow the way you'd like it to flow, like it's like choppy, stuttery, like is it like it's not?
It's
How do you mean? I guess.
some of it's choppy, some of it is just it continues when you would like it to take a breath. Like I don't mind choppy stutter because I do write choppy stuttery stuff because I most of my writing right now is still very much in the it's mostly dialogue and haven't really broken that up yet. Um, this is I think it's just it doesn't breathe. It doesn't give you a chance to breathe. I don't know. It's hard for me to describe this stuff because I'm an engineer. I'm not an English major like you.
I don't think it's easy to describe either as an English major. It's one of those things that it's funny because like it's concrete, it exists, it's black and white on the page, and yet to discuss it is like an abstract, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like when you describe a smell as burning or like a sight as loud, like loud colors or something like that. It's like very synesthesia. What word you said? I'm sorry, my train of thought literally just crashed right there.
Josh, I would love to have JD Salinger write out your stream of consciousness just to get a feel for whenever you're like, I'm sorry, my train of thought, I'm like, wait a minute, what sentence did that get stuck on?
Literally the last one. Like I could feel the word that I was trying to use, and it missed the junction or something, and it's like, okay, I'm not gonna let this dead air hang for a second. I'm just gonna abandon ship here.
Yeah, I get that. Connor, what do you make of all this? How do you feel about the writing itself?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things I really like about this book. I really love. I think it's spot on. It is a stream of consciousness from the mind of Holden Caulfield. It makes the book very interesting to read. I think. I don't know if it was more standardized or but more conventional. I don't know if I would like it as much. I think it does a lot to bring you to Holden's personality, and and I mean, I think it can be annoying, but I'm a sucker for unconventional writing, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, so it's really a positive to me. And I think it's a mixture of like JD Salinger's style and just like, oh, this is how he's writing Holden, who's the narrator of the story. Yeah, so I mean, I can see why it would be off-putting to some.
Yeah. You know what I wanted to add was I think this is kind of like the breeziest book we've read since Hitchhiker's Guide. And we had mentioned before the page count we're at. We've read 51 pages.
They are not Lord of the Rings 50 pages.
Exactly the point.
Yeah, no way.
I was gonna, and like it's crazy because I usually consider myself to be a slow reader, especially because when I'm reading a text like Lord of the Rings, which I would consider to be a little more dense than than what I'm used to, and that was written for teenagers in like the the fucking 1930s. But like I would read and reread sentences, but I feel like with this whole stream of consciousness writing style, it kind of, I felt like I found myself sort of like I don't know, drawn into it, or almost like I sync up with it. I feel like my head like syncs up with it, and it sort of doesn't feel like I'm reading it the same way I read other books. It feels like I'm kind of like coasting along, and I'll almost be tempted like go back and reread, because it's like I feel like I'll have experienced like the text, and I'll know exactly what's going on, but it almost doesn't feel like I've read it, because I'm kind of just like gliding along the page, and it feels very effortless like that. And I guess I just thought that was kind of odd, and again, like just how fast I read it in comparison to other books we've been reading as well. Even something like 2001: A Space Odyssey, which, not that the prose of that is like super dense, but it's like it's very rich with, like kind of high-minded ideas, and this is like just super grounded and puts you right inside, the head of Holden, and it just is very unique, considering the books that we've read and discussed for this podcast. I almost felt like I got done with these 50 pages and I was like, should I reread this? Should I'm like, do I need to examine this more closely? Because it felt like I almost like just coasted along it in a way. And that's not a bad thing.
But it's not. I don't feel like I coasted personally. I
Josh was like, it was like pulling teeth. He's like, oh, okay.
It wasn't that bad, but it was
2 more pages.
I did. No, I did find myself getting through it faster than I expected, given our previous books. But it was still like I set aside 2 days to read it, or rather, read it in 2 sittings. Started on Monday, got through 2 chapters. I was very tired on Monday, so I actually fell asleep about halfway through chapter 2. But I do that with almost every book we read at some point. And then I finished it yesterday with the last 3 chapters. But I don't know if I got into the same flow state that you're describing, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, not to... I want to move on to a different topic, but only just to clarify, I do think it's cool that I was like in that state when I was reading, but I'm also trying to describe it as kind of a double-edged sword, because I feel like I'm usually more, I don't know, like thoughtful and analytic when I'm reading. And I do have plenty of notes that I could look through here that I put down. And it's not that I'm thoughtful and analytic in like in a forceful way. I feel like that's typically how I naturally read, which is why I like to do this podcast and why it's fun to talk about books with you guys and all that stuff. And it's kind of strange to me that the writing style here, I think, encourages me to do that less. And so I'm not like going over and writing notes as frequently or as thoroughly. I feel like I'm just reading the book. And that leaves me in a weird space, because typically I feel much more prepared for these conversations, actually. And I'll be like, I have all these notes to talk about. And here I sort of am. And I'm like, I feel like it's sort of just like washed over me. And I think that's good and bad. Bad's not even the right word, but like it's different for me. And I think that's sort of what Salinger is trying to do with his writing style. So I think like he accomplishes something very special here. But yeah. Josh, I think what I want to ask you, because this might open up a more fruitful conversation, and I have a feeling it could branch off into many other places. But we also kind of touched on this idea of feeling like there are aspects of Holden, his personality, his behavior, that you found to be maybe frustrating or kind of like grating as a reader because of his personality.
Mm-hmm.
Can you maybe talk about that a little bit? Like, I'm curious about what some of those moments may be and why you felt that way. And I thought maybe we could like discuss that a little bit and go from there.
So I don't know. He's very. I think you kind of hit it on the head with the ADHD diagnosis, which normally I don't mind that sort of thing, but he doesn't care about other people. Seems to be the overarching theme here. At least anyone outside from his little brother who has died. And he always has something disparaging to say about his parents, any adult he comes across or is referring to. He doesn't have anything nice to say about Ackley, or his,
I don't know if
his
he
roommate.
doesn't care about other people. I think he just has like annoyances that he about
Right, but
pretty much
he
everyone.
But he brings those to the forefront, and he's focusing on the negatives on everything. Everything about him is negative.
He'll
and
always
I
add a
think
caveat, though. He'll always add a caveat, like, "Oh, like I feel bad for him," or
yeah, but also and the positive things
yeah.
that he gives,
Yeah.
he has a caveat on those as well. And I think that's the point. Like if I had to guess, he's going through depression because his brother died, and that's affecting his performance in school and his ability to connect to others and to, be a good member of society. But it also sounds like the school's kind of shit, and he does rightfully point out all these, like, why does everyone care about some old guy who gave the school a lot of money? When he comes in, they all got to do a stupid cheer in the football stadium. Like, I can connect with that. Or he suspects the headmaster serves them all steak on Saturday because everyone's parents come up on Sunday, and it's like, what'd you have for dinner? And it's like, oh, steak. It's like, ooh, that sounds good. It's like he's definitely seeing things well, but when he goes and is talking to the professor, and it's just like the professor doesn't even do that much yet, aside from weirdly be dressed in only a nightgown. Like, that's that weirdness aside, like his immediate reactions to what the professor is saying, he's not taking what the professor's saying, and I found that in particular very frustrating. The professor's trying to help him. That is very clear, and he is not accepting that, and it's his choice not to do that.
For what it's worth, and sort of going off the point that both of you are mentioning about how like there's kind of always this caveat, good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
Holden also recognizes that the professor is trying to help him.
Yeah.
And says, and so it's like there is like this weird thing going on where like I can see why all these things about Holden
he's self-sabotaging,
but he's like very aware. Yeah, he's very perceptive.
He's self-sabotaging. I think that's what I don't like the most.
Well, he's more just like apathetic and letting it kind of happen. Like he's
right.
He knows that. I mean, he knows that he's not living up to his potential or whatever, but he's not motivated to change that in any way.
Right. Like he lost the fencing gear on the subway and just went and bought a hat. It's
it's a cool hat, though. It's a really cool hat.
It is a cool hat, but it's like there's no attempt to like apologize to the rest of the team. There's no attempt to rectify the situation, which I do not know how you do that in the New York subway today, let alone 70 years ago. There's no I get what you say. He's not motivated, but there's no effort.
You had to keep looking up to make sure they got off to the right stop, though. Come on.
Yeah.
That is pretty funny.
It's frustrating for me to me because I'm someone who is very mindful about everything, and I do make an effort to try to what's the phrase I'm looking for here? I do try to do my best in what I apply myself in. I do try to apply myself, and yeah, I do get burned down. I'm pretty apathetic at times myself, but I still get up and I do what I need to do at the very least. Like, he doesn't even do the part he needs to do, and that's what I find frustrating.
Yeah. Connor, you want to take a crack at that? You look like you want to say something.
I mean, I don't know. I just think it's just an example of brains working differently. I think
Yes.
is what I can say. Like, there's something about Holden's rationale or how he moves through life that Josh just doesn't understand. Yeah, it can't
Or
compute with.
I think I understand. I just don't appreciate the why as much. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, because I mean, again, I feel like I have been there. I have it's like a level of apathy that Holden has, and also like a level of I guess like almost like anhedonia or something like that. You know, like just like he doesn't like feel strongly about these things one way or another, you know, and like I think Josh is right, and it's like it's a failure for that his family to help him after his brother died, and you know, depression
Mm-hmm.
stemming from that, like especially like when he said, oh, he punched out all the windows in the garage or
Oh
whatever, and
yeah,
then he's like, I just did that because like
Yeah.
there's like
yeah.
there's like
There's no
very
effort
little
to there's no
like
effort to actually analyze what like
yeah,
everything's just because he doesn't look
exactly.
for the reason why he's not self-reflecting at all. It's just I did that because
Well,
I did
that's a
that.
failure on on the adults in his life for sure.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying they're um not culpable here. I'm just saying like
Yeah.
Oh, we're not blaming the kids for this one.
I'm trying to
Put
I'm
up the
not
joke
blaming the
card,
kids for this
everybody.
one, but oh man,
This is before
uh,
TikTok, Connor.
Yeah, sorry.
but I am blaming him for not being self-reflecting enough
I do.
and
I think
realizing what his
it's.
problem is.
I
Yeah.
think it's
Well, no,
interesting.
I think he knows. I do think he knows what his problem is in a lot of these. I think there's a disconnect. You know, it's like it's kind of almost like a uh an inability to execute the actions or the thought the function he would need to turn things around. Like I think there's a part that like he's just not he doesn't have the resources he needs to um you know uh re train his brain or turn his life or his school career around.
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone in his life is like, why aren't you doing the thing? Just do that. Just don't. Just like do better. Like why aren't
Yeah.
like that's the
You can
but
see.
the professor is saying just do better. Just like do the thing. Why aren't you just doing the thing? And he's like,
Yeah.
I know. But that's like as somebody
What
with
what
like
he's saying.
pretty
What
severe
he's saying.
ADHD,
I know.
that's like not helpful. That's like not a helpful thing to say.
Well, when he's saying I know, like when I was reading that part in particular, I was reading that as like he's just trying to get out of there. He's not. He doesn't actually know. He's just saying what he needs to say to get the fuck out of there.
I think it's both. I think he does know because he genuinely appreciates like what the professor is trying to do. Like he understands what he and like he's like he's like you know it seems like he's aware that the professor's heart is in the right place, but I mean he doesn't have that spark to
Mm-hmm.
make make a change or follow that advice.
Yeah, I feel like I can not to be a Ryan Reynolds fence sitter here, but I feel like I can kind of see both sides a little bit, because chapter 2, I feel like, was the chapter that kind of struck me the hardest when I was reading, because like I could really feel for the professor who was like trying to help. And I've had several teachers in my life, and even some of them professors throughout my college career, you know, who I would like make a point of talking to, you know, and they would like try to push me, you know, or guide me, and I guess I just have a real soft spot for that, because yes, I think that what the professor is doing is very earnest, and yes, I think Holden's aware of it, and I do think it's kind of sad that like they're not. It's like they're both so close, you know. It's like they're both aware. They both have this awareness. Like I think the professor sees the nihilism and the apathy in Holden, and he's like, you know, he's trying the only way he knows how. And yeah, maybe it's not super effective, but like I've also been on the Holden side where, you know, like Connor's saying, the awareness of the problem doesn't mean that that you can like take action, or it's like being in a accelerating car and it's your foot on the gas pedal, and all you have to do is like turn the steering wheel in one direction or the other, and you just don't. It's not that you can't, it's that you don't, and it just slams into something, you know. And I don't know, this was like such a honest kind of interaction that Salinger writes between these two characters. I don't think Holden is wrong for wanting to get away from like the magnifying glass of the like I think Holden feels very like vulnerable, and he doesn't want to face those things about himself. Like he's aware of them, but he's like avoiding it, you know. It's like he knows what's behind the door. It's just that like he cannot open it and face it, you know, and so he's compartmentalizing and he's stuffing it away, and it's really weird to talk about that moment the night his brother dies. You're right, like he says, it's so crazy, he puts those things side by side. He says, yeah, the night my brother died, I punched all the windows out of the fucking garage and I destroyed my hand. And he says, just because. How do you not make that connection? You're right. Yeah. I think he knows the connection. It's just that like he cannot articulate it. Like he knows it. It's like in his bones, but like he has to deny it or else he's going to shatter, you know, like he can't. I don't know.
Well, what can he do about it on his own? You know, like there doesn't seem to be a you know, for all the good nature that, you know, the professor like he's not gonna open up to this old professor and be like, oh, you know, it all started when my brother died.
He like, barely opened up to his other brother.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just it is just kind of a it's become kind of a deep rooted issue that's like kind of seeped into every facet of his life.
If, like Josh is positing here, if it comes to light, or if the interpretation seems to, you know, become more valid, that it's like, oh, Holden's depressed. Yeah, you could definitely make that claim in the first 5 chapters. But like, let's say that becomes even more supported as the book goes on. Josh, do you think that could change your opinion? Because I only, and it's not a judgment, I'm not asking you to, or obviously, like, I guess what I'm trying to say here is, I think it's interesting that you're pointing to this frustration in like his inaction, and identifying that he's depressed, which, like, you know, symptomatically usually drives people to inaction.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I just wanted to get a little bit more on like how much are we crediting to depression and how much is maybe just like, I don't know, Holden's personality failure or whatever you want to call it.
I don't know, probably 50-50 right now. If I don't have enough to really make a real judgment. I'm kind of grasping at straws to try to explain my frustration with the first 5 chapters, and his personality is about as close as I can get to it.
Yeah.
And it's really hard for me to verbalize and nail down what that is, or nail down and verbalize what I've nailed down. Like half my notes here are just me being snarky towards the text. And then the other 2 are just comments on the time. So, yeah, to answer your question, I think it's about half and half, and I do not have a finishing thought to that sentence.
Missed the junction completely.
Yes, that seems to be the theme tonight.
Hey, fair enough. And yeah, it's wasn't really expecting an answer. I guess I'm just curious where your head's at, and then we'll see where we go from there. Connor, is there something you want to talk more about, or something you want to jump to that is on your mind?
I mean, the only note that I really had in my head, which is how I write notes,
Of course,
is a lot of the, so, you know, the interactions in like with his roommate and with Ackley and stuff, like, I don't know, like a lot of, I mean, just the book overall, but especially those portions, there was really like a Seinfeld-ish aspect to it, like in some of the way that they talk to each other and the way that Holden thinks, or like, I mean, and it leans more Georgish, definitely, you know, in a lot of ways. But I don't know, just it just there was like a similar kind of casualness to these interactions, that reminded me of Seinfeld.
It reminded me a lot about my freshman year in college, where the door was just almost always open. But the showers between every other dorm, I don't know why, but it reminded me a lot of. Do you remember in elementary school how the bathrooms were between all the classrooms, and you had those weird
Yeah,
like in between bathrooms?
mm-hmm.
yeah, those sucked.
So I had this weird, like, imagining the room would be not much bigger than the office I'm currently sitting in, but with the atmosphere of my freshman college dorm and the connections of our elementary school classrooms.
Yeah, it's a clashing of worlds.
Yeah. Also, since I made that connection with my college dorm, I was imagining these people being roughly college age, which some of them are, but when we get into them being 16 and 18 for Holden and Ackley, it's like, oh, I gotta revise my mental image of everything down to, you know, mid early high school, and like how young and inexperienced people are then.
Right. Yeah, they're at a boarding school, and it'll be. I want to talk more about the school itself, but but you know, kind of tied up in that, and going off of Connor's point, I didn't think about Seinfeld at all, but as soon as you said it, I was like, oh yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Because the thing that I kept thinking was, you know, Holden has such an internal monologue about like all these people's their bad habits and their crummy behavior and all this stuff that he doesn't like about them. It's crazy. You read through like all of chapter 3, and Holden, you know, spends like 15 pages just like in his head, all the shit he fucking does not like about Ackley, thinks he's just this disgusting, kind of reprehensible, inconsiderate person. Chapter 5, he's like, hey, you mind if I invite old Ackley to the movies with us?
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you talking about? You're gonna invite that motherfucker? I read your thoughts.
Yep.
Yeah.
You fucking hate that guy.
And that's part of the reason I was so frustrated with him, is you got to deal with this really crummy neighbor in your dorm, but he's also like your closest friend, apparently, as far as I can tell in this book so far. So what's going on here?
Yeah, I think it speaks to a couple things, because like, okay, I mean, when you're younger, sometimes you just are friends with people based on proximity. Exactly.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, even when you're older sometimes.
Yes. It's a good thing that all of us have distance between each other, because, you know, there'd be a really easy joke in there, but this takes effort, god damn it.
True.
I love you guys. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
But yeah, like, I think there's something like very honest about just how scathing, you know, Holden is, but it's like more than like, yeah, Holden does say he kind of feels sorry for Ackley. You know, he's kind of gross. He has all these weird habits, you know, people. And I think that, I do think that like the off-puttingness of Ackley is also like, I think it's kind of endearing to Holden, because, you know, Holden talks a lot about the people that he truly hates, like the Thurman, right, the headmaster of Pensy Prep, and then the dean of his old school that he got kicked out before, who he says is like 10 times worse. Catcher in the Rye is very famous for this idea of the phony. This is like maybe one of the most enduring ideas and points about the book, and one of the things that is like so commonly brought up about Holden and what he's preoccupied with is like sincerity and phoniness. And I guess it kind of, you know, made me think that for all the grossness of Ackley, you know, it's like, what is Ackley really hiding though? You know, it's almost like his bad habits, all the things that are like kind of weird and gross about him, but, you know, there's a sincerity to it, because he's just like this bizarre fucking outcast who cannot help having all of these, you know, shitty personality traits and behaviors. And I think that there's like this weird, you know, thing where like Holden kind of appreciates that too. Like, I feel like Holden knows who Ackley is. And even though he like sees him as this person who he doesn't think is like very good, you know, he's like, but he's not trying to be anyone else either. And I think that scores a lot of points for Holden, and like that makes him kind of endearing to him as well.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And I mean, I think these are things that he just notices too. And I mean, he thinks a lot about other people, I think too, because I don't know, maybe as a way of not doing that self-reflection, or looking into his own issues. Obviously, like some of this stuff, it seems kind of hypocritical, because he himself has and does things that piss other people off quite a bit. So
repeating himself.
Yes, he repeats himself. Yes.
Yeah. So I think it's also a way of coping. But I don't think all these annoyances listed are, it's not. It doesn't mean like he really dislikes these people very much. They're just like little things. Like he's just he has pet peeves, and but yeah, I think he also enjoys.
He's a tsundere.
Yeah, there you go.
He enjoys like thinking about uh thinking about those or being annoyed by them. It's like part of his personality.
Yeah, it's sort of his fixation in a way. All right, so Pensy Prep. So far, the setting of this story here, a place that we kind of thought we might be leaving sooner than later, but we're still there. We'll see what happens.
Pensy Prep also, Connor.
Also a band.
Also the name, another MCR connection, Frank Guerrero's first band.
That's right.
Pensy Prep.
Yep. Interesting.
I remember that. And I mean, a couple points to that, to the whole My Chemical Romance, Pensy Prep kind of deal. Because as I was reading this, and I'm sorry to any MCR fans if this is obvious, or maybe I've heard this in the past, but I'm like, is that what the I'm Not Okay music video is supposed to be a send up of? Is this kind of like taking the piss a little bit?
I think there's definitely a little bit of an inspiration there. I don't know if it's ever been directly stated, but I think it's in there somewhere.
Yeah. Because honestly, when I imagine Holden, and we do get a little bit of description of him, I especially like the detail that he's tall, and that like just one side of his head is like gray hair. Like it's really really intriguing kind of detail. But I sort of picture him as like this weird Gerard Way type, who's like both like kind of like this mixture of handsome and charming and endearing, but like handsome and charming and endearing in the way of like their own awkwardness and like social inability. It's like they're like their charm, if you could call it that, like comes from them like being unable to fit into standardized society. Like people want to be around them, or people want to know more about them, like because of their bizarre behavior, and yet it's wrapped up in this package. If Holden looked like Ackley, then he would be Ackley. I think that like there is also this whole deal, like Holden's kind of in between. We get Ackley introduced and we get Statler introduced, and they're sort of like, at least in terms of their physical description, kind of like these polar opposites,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's important when we're talking about when we're talking about like what the setting that these characters are inhabiting as late adolescents, as 16 to 18-year-olds, like kind of like the cultural cachet or social status that you get from your physical appearance. Never does that matter more than when you're in middle school and high school, like
yep.
And sorry, I'll hop off. But all I was gonna say is just like I think that Holden gets kind of I think he's sort of occupying this middle ground between those two characters in that regard. But I think that like he gets kind of a boost in a way. I almost feel like Holden would be Ackley if he just looked like Ackley. You know what I mean? Like I think that there's something about Holden as well that kind of allows him to be this sort of aloof kind of weirdo just because of like the natural aspects that have conspired to make things the way they are in this weird boarding school world that he lives in. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, Josh. What were you gonna say?
No, you were going on about how you're imagining them looking, and all I could think of once I realized like all the details are there, but once my brain finally put together like they're in the 50s, they are in a boarding school, and they're high school age, my immediate connection was Dead Poet Society, and that set my mental image of what these people look like were the kids from the Dead Poet Society.
I think that's a really good point of comparison, yeah.
And the old professor is Robin Williams.
The old professor, I think, is not Robin Williams. I know where you're coming with the connection here, but I think the old professor was definitely older than Robin Williams.
His wife is Miss Doubtfire.
Ooh, good one. Yeah.
That might be more believable.
Good one. Connor, are you imagining these characters any kind of way?
Yeah, Holden is he's he kind of has a short haircut with kind of part of his hair is graying, has been graying since he was young apparently. So I kind of this is so lame, but like think of I kind of picture a youngish Billy Joe with the crew cut. Yeah.
No, I thought that might have been it. I really did.
With a little bit of gray hair.
That is funny. What about this red hunter's hat? I felt like this was such an interesting detail, and in fact, I kept wondering because he keeps talking about the peak, and then I realized, he's talking about like the I don't know, the bill or the brim of the hat, really.
Yeah.
But I feel like peak must be an older term for that. Anyways, all I did was go on Google and I typed in old red hunter's hat, and you get Holden Caulfield. It's kind of funny. There's like fan art of him, that, and then I got a clearer picture of like what this hat is supposed to be, and it seems like it's one of those hats that you could either have the two sides of it tied up or it'll be down over his ears. And I feel like that's such a goofy kind of imagery of him wearing a hat like that backwards.
So you bringing this up made me like immediately realize I never looked it up, so I started looking it up. I think I see the style you're talking about. It's like the cap that goes like covers your ears, and then it's like almost like a fur lined rim.
I'll text you. I took a screenshot of what I found before, and you'll see all I did was Google old red hunting hat, and you'll
yeah, that's him.
and it's literally meant to be him. It's from the Catcher in the Rye wiki, which there it is.
Interesting. I'm getting a few other styles here that kind of fit the description of just old hunter's hat. Some of them look like Robin Hood. Some of them are literally just baseball caps with camo patterns. There's a couple that are like gentlemen on a fox hunt, and others that are like fishing hats, essentially.
Yeah.
So it's hard to nail this down, but the style you showed, that's pretty good. I think that's the definitive, as you said.
Yeah, and I think it's a cool piece of imagery. It really makes Holden feel like a teenager. They're just wearing this stupid hat. You know how many stupid hats I wore when I was 16? I mean, I'm sorry, guys, but there's a picture of me with a fedora somewhere. There is. I know there is.
Multiple.
I've never been much of a hat person, but I have worn a lot of hats, metaphorically and literally. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You gotta.
I said the line is like, oh, that's a metaphor or a euphemism. So.
Yeah. You got to
Needing
figure
hat.
out if you're a hat guy or not from a young age, you know.
I do have a baseball hat collection of just hats I wear, but they just sit on my shelf 90% of the time.
Yeah. Next time we hang out, Josh, I want to see you wear a hat.
We'll see.
Put a hat on.
It'll probably be wintertime, so I'll probably have my snow hat or something.
You know, I did want to. This is jumping ahead, but hey, we said we are jumping around, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Not jumping ahead at all, is it? Talking about the hat as a metaphor, one of my very last notes that I wanted to bring up was so when Holden starts writing about his dead brother Allie, he makes a big point of his red hair. And and another big thing that he talks about is how his teachers said that he was such a pleasure to have in class. And he was like, oh, and the teachers really meant it too. They weren't just talking bull crap, you know. Yep. And so immediately Allie is kind of set up as this foil for Holden. You know, Holden's being kicked out of school. He's literally had a face-to-face conversation with a professor who was like, you need to get your shit together. You know, like literally polar opposite of how he's describing his brother. And we know that Holden's hair, I mean, isn't red. At least part of it isn't, right? I don't think it is. Anyways, I was kind of struck by this idea because the hat is described as red always, over and over again. If there is not some kind of metaphorical idea of like the hat as not just like a coping or a comfort kind of thing, but like almost as a way for Holden to like have red hair, quote unquote, because I think he associates that unique detail of his dead brother with like his success and with the way that his parents, you know, were proud of him and the way that he succeeded in school. Like his brother succeeded in all the ways that Holden sees himself failing at. And to have those two things side by side and to be so distinctly characterized as being red, I kind of wondered if it was not like a subconscious kind of, you know, Holden trying to assume red hair as a way of like having a part of that identity of his dead brother.
Yeah, it's a great analogy. I could see, I had not considered it, but as soon as you started getting into it, I could see immediately where you were going.
Yeah.
No, I think there's definitely something there. And yeah, about Allie being Holden's foil or being, you know, what he wishes he could be, you know. It's interesting. Guys, can we do the tight two? I just gotta pee real quick.
Absolutely.
Okay. I think we're almost done too.
We are, yeah. We'll do a tight two and then we'll finish things up.
Sounds good.
Okay. Uh-oh. It's just me. Oh, there we go.
Gang's all here. All right.
Ready to jump back in?
I am, yeah.
As well.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay. So as we were saying, I think we're kind of on track to wrap up our discussion soon. There is maybe one or two things I want to make sure we talk about, and I'm going to start with what I think the most important thing is, or the thing I'm most interested in mentioning. In chapter 4, Holden comes to find that his roommate Stadlater is going on a date with this girl who he knows they were neighbors, Jane Gallagher. And then Holden kind of launches into this sort of like word vomit kind of deal where he's just like talking about her and like saying like all this.
This particularly was very much a George moment. I felt like, you know, is like, oh, then go down and talk to her. Is like, I don't know, I don't feel like it. To me, I could just imagine it.
Yeah,
I have a note. I have a note on page 42, where Holden's just saying I ought to go down and say hello to her at least. Like it's like the third time he said it in as many pages, and Stradlater says, "Why the hell don't you?" And he keeps saying it. My note here is just my thoughts exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, Jerry.
Yeah, it's Josh is such a Jerry for real.
Wow.
He has the hair for it too.
He does. It's true. Josh has better hair than Jerry Seinfeld.
That's true.
Just make that clear.
What's the deal with this airline food?
There we go. Oh my gosh.
That's what I'm talking about, baby.
Crazy. And Josh doesn't date 16-year-olds, so He's better.
I don't
He's better
date.
than Jerry in a lot of ways.
You got a leg up on Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah.
So what? I don't know. What you got aside from the whole? Okay, yeah, he's repeating himself and all that, but like, I don't know. I took this as an interesting moment because this is the only time we see Holden act this way, and it felt like for all the apathy and the nonchalance and the cynicism and whatever word you want to apply to how Holden typically behaves and like his usual train of thought in these first 5 chapters, this is like a real outlier, you know? And the thing that really stood out to me is he describes himself as nervous and as like this giving him anxiety. And I thought that was really interesting because up until this point, I did kind of peg him as more aloof than that. And yet I feel like this moment kind of highlights that there is, you know, like this life inside of him, and this fear. Like there's a reason why he keeps talking about how he should see her and doesn't, you know, and I think it's easy to maybe assume like, well, you know, he's scared. Like it's normal to be a teenager and not want to talk to a girl, you know. But but I don't know. I felt like this moment like complicated him and humanized him a little bit more, because it sort of feels contradictory to how we see him behave elsewhere in these first 5 chapters. And
with the tone of voice, I was just like, how dare they complicate our literary character?
Yeah, right, exactly, right. And I was like, this felt like very honest to me. All the things that we could point, and both of you have already brought up small moments of, I think Connor used the word hypocrisy, which I think is spot on. You know, Holden spends so much time criticizing other people, or Josh was saying this too, because he's saying like, oh, these people are always repeat themselves. I hate it when people repeat themselves. Suddenly he's repeating himself over and over again. And it's like, that's the exact kind of messiness and contradictory nature that makes Holden feel like a 16-year-old, you know? And so I really liked this moment because I did think he was behaving like very strangely and different from what I would have assumed. And I was like, yeah, because Holden is 16 and he's kind of fucked up. And this is just like a weird, messy moment for him. And I don't really have more to say on it than that. I'm not sure if either of you do either, but I did want to at least throw it out there that I thought this was interesting.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting to me too because he doesn't even seem like threatened by Strad later. I mean, he's obviously very fond of Jane, right? Is
Yeah.
her name?
Yep.
His friend doesn't even know her name. He just met her. You know, he calls her Jean at first. And so, but it's interesting because it's almost like he hasn't even reckoned with these feelings. Like he doesn't even realize that he has a crush on her, or you know, like he hasn't admitted that to himself, but he's feeling these feelings, but kind of not putting it because there's no objection to Stradlater and Jane going on a date, you know. And it's also paired with, you know, he's calling his friends handsome over like he's thinking, oh man, what a handsome guy, like multiple times. So it's a very, very interesting scene. And then how affected he is by it, even after you know, he goes and sits in his room and sits on his chair for half an hour, like just like dazed, like I don't know. It's this is like, yeah, the thing that he's cared most about so far in our story, for sure.
His reaction here is
might actually be the part of his personality I've related to the most so far. Just oh shit, this is somebody I know and clearly have some interest in. Um, he's not at the self-aware level of that so far, but um, that would probably be close to my own train of thought if this had happened to me at some point in my life. I wouldn't have been voicing it nearly as much, but yeah, this was probably the part that I related to the most, which not terribly so, but it's like, okay, here's like more normal male teenager behavior that I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
So,
and it's funny because for myself, like, yeah, you grow up and you have crushes and all that, but I always felt kind of awkward and separated from some of that too sometimes. And
same.
To hear Connor relay some of what happens in the chapter, and he mentions the detail of Holden going and sitting in his chair for 30 minutes, I was like, actually, that might be the most relatable detail in the whole chapter. Like, I have no idea how much time I've spent just like spacing out, doing, because like I can't reckon with like something, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's like not even decompression in a way, it's like nothingness. It's like, what a crazy detail to include in your story. Salinger is a real one, and a weird one. He must be. I mentioned I had maybe one other thing I wanted to throw out there, but just given our time, I'm wondering if either of you want to share something that you want to talk about before we close out.
I just have 3 other quick notes I haven't gotten to. They're just quick comments on the text. The last one is just how it took us 4.5 chapters to find out that his brother died of leukemia, which was just like, holy shit, that's kind of a big detail. Like, we learned about his other brother literally on like the 2nd page.
Yeah.
So just like, he's going through his family and he doesn't mention his little brother until 4 chapters later. So that was just like, well, that's an important detail I would have liked to have earlier. That really recontextualizes your behavior up to this point. But it was just like, also it was just the fact that it was leukemia, which I associate with later century. Like, yeah, it takes place in the 50s, but it's like I for some reason I associate that with being, I don't associate it with this setting, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. Like, it feels like too modern of a thing, even though we mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, 1,000 Paper Cranes, that was set in the 40s, as far as I remember. And that's about people who got leukemia from the atomic bombs, which it's the same time period, essentially.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I just mentally associate that with more modern medicine and disease theory and medical practice. It's just my own mental thing. There is one other part of Holden's personality that I actually liked, and that was his reading. And he sits down at one point, it's page 24, 25. He's trying to read Out of Africa. And he's not a good reader, but his thoughts on reading actually were interesting to me. And the thing that stood out to me is like, when he finishes reading a book, he wants to like call the author up and like talk to them, essentially. And there's a few authors where he's kind of knocked out by the fact that they have been dead for decades in some instances. And he's just in a stream of consciousness is talking about these different books that he's read and how he may or may not actually want to talk to the author based on what he read. And I was being snarky with my note, and my note is, not sure I'd want to call this guy up in another
not sure I want to call this guy up in a month right now, but we'll see at the end of the book.
Yeah.
Assuming we can finish this in about a month and a half, given our typical reading schedule. We'll see.
I think we will.
And my last note was just page 4. When he's mentioning that his brother is a successful writer and has a Jaguar, and it cost him nearly $4,000. I'm just sitting there like, a Jaguar for $4,000? I looked it up earlier in this podcast. The cheapest Jaguar is 10 times that today. They get way up there after that, like almost 20 times or more.
Of course, $4,000 also is very different.
In the 50s, absolutely. But, I mean, it's still like a Jaguar? An imported car, no less, because this takes place in New York, and the Jaguar is very much an import from Great Britain. So that one just surprised me. It's like, holy shit, $4,000.
Yeah. There's a few. I don't know if the right term is anachronisms, but I guess maybe just like there are definitely some details in this story that point to like, oh yeah, this book is what from the 50s. It's published in the early 50s, I think. The thing that really jumped out at me was that Holden doesn't like movies. That was like the funniest thing to me.
Yeah, he's very against. Was that a thing for some kids back then, or is that just very like unique to Holden?
Yeah, I truly wondered that.
I feel like it'd be unique to Holden.
Well, it's it's kind of like
much longer.
It's kind of like one of those kids in middle school or high school who's like really into like classic rock or something, and it's like, yeah, music these days it's not the same, where he's like, oh no, these new movie, these movies,
flash in the pan.
Yeah, like they're nothing like classic radio plays, or or books or whatever. Like,
yeah,
they ain't no audio drama.
According to the copyright page, it appears some form of the story was published in some magazines in 1945 and 1946, but the copyrights at the top of the page are 45, 46, and 51, which is a little earlier than I expected. I mean, this story feels like it takes place mid-50s.
Yeah, I think
it feels that way.
51 is when it was compiled as a novel, I think.
Pre-Christmas story.
Wow, what a world, I can see why Holden didn't like movies, because he didn't have
the story yet.
Yeah, he didn't have quite the catalog we have to choose from.
Yeah, exactly.
I like to think
he hadn't
that
even
maybe,
seen the Avengers.
I was gonna say, I think if Holden saw Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, I think
he would have loved that shit.
I think he would have changed his tune.
Or Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Or The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
Maybe that may have turned them off movies. Who knows?
No.
That's kind of like the tweet where it's like, if you gave a like a poor boy in the 1800s bag of Doritos, he would lose his mind, or that's kind of like the same thing. If you had a 16-year-old from the 40s watch The Rise of Skywalker, that's just like too much stimulation for them to
no,
comprehend.
The first movies I would have him, I would sit down with Holden Caulfield and we would watch Star Wars Machete Order, and I would just see like what he makes of that.
What's Machete Order?
That's when you do 4, 5, 2, 3, 6.
Oh, okay.
Why would you do that?
Because Clone Wars and Revenge of the Sith are meant to be a flashback after the reveal of Vader being Luke's father, and then
that's
interesting.
I like that.
Yeah.
I would show him Tobey Maguire's edit of the prequels.
Yeah, I've never seen that. That's cool.
I would probably show him Back to the Future. I
Mm.
think he would like Marty McFly.
Yeah, I bet he
Yeah,
probably
I
would
think
like
so
that.
too.
You know, another one that'd be good would be Never-Ending Story. I feel like he probably.
Yeah.
I
would play him the song "Who Wrote Holden Caulfield" off of the 1992 Green Day record "Kerplunk."
Yeah, that'd be kind of a mindfuck, huh?
I have a good song written about you.
Yeah. Yeah, that is. I still think it's funny, and especially because so Holden's brother DB, he has so much respect for his right. He says that like his favorite book is The Secret Goldfish, written by his brother. But then in the same breath, he also describes his brother as a prostitute because he's a Hollywood screenwriter now.
He's a sellout now.
And he's sold his soul, to buy a $4,000 Jaguar. I think that really speaks to the way Holden views things, and I guess I don't know. It's all wrapped up in this weird picture of. I could almost see like from that framework, why he might be feeling so apathetic about education as well. Because if the point of education is like to get a job, and Holden views, his brother's success as this thing to be criticized and kind of like reviled, then it's like, what would Holden even have to aspire to that he could gain through education? I think to him, there's like nothing on the other side, because I think like any job that he could feasibly attain from all these prestigious schools, he views as a kind of performative sort of thing. It's another phony kind of thing where it's like, well, okay, so I do all this and I jump through all these hoops, and then what? I get a job doing something I fucking hate, and then I die. Like, why would I even try to do that? And I think his other brother DB sort of represents that other side as well. And it's kind of funny that he's experiencing all this success, because like it's the success that Holden resents so much. If his brother were just like a honest to goodness artist who was just barely scraping by, writing stories for the love of the game, there'd be no problem. But instead, he's fucking wealthy and he's doing awesome. He's living his best life. And Holden's like, what a fucking loser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a real perspective of a 16-year-old.
I think I had that perspective when I was 26 too.
Yeah. Well, they grew up fast those days. Back in those days.
Yeah, they did. We were talking about fucking, iPad babies and the kids in this book for fucking real.
Yeah. It's a different world.
I don't know.
I mean, yeah, and it's interesting because the contrast between DB and then Ali, the two brothers, like he has this kind of idealized memory of his deceased brother. He didn't live long enough to sell out or to make any of these like decisions that would make him unpure or a phony in Holden's eyes, so it's like I think that's his comparison point in a lot of ways to where the reality is that like I mean, it's just not realistic to live up to that when it comes to himself, even or anybody. He like I think he is judging everybody else too hard, like against that, like his kind of like idealized image of his little brother. But everybody is just fucked up and phony, and but hey, baby, that's just life.
That's showbiz, baby. Yeah. Any final thoughts here? Anything else we feel like we're really missing that we want to throw out there in these first 5 chapters?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think there's a lot. I mean, he mentioned that he ended up writing Stradlatter's persuasive essay, was it
Yeah.
for him?
Composition.
Yeah. And it was kind of a fun, that's the scene where his roommate is, shaving, getting ready for his date and stuff, and they're just hanging out in the bathroom together. Just two boys just hanging out in the bathroom together. Where he asks Holden to write this essay because Holden, he's flunking out of every class except for English. He's good at English.
Yep.
And so Stradlatter is like, yeah, can you write this essay for me? Don't make it too good though. Just don't put some commas in the wrong places, just so they don't get suspicious because they know that you're my roommate.
Yeah.
And Holden kind of plays coy, and he makes him beg a little bit. He's like, all right, if I have time, I'll do it. And then he does, and he pretty clearly enjoys doing it. Kind of. You didn't mention in the recap, but that's how the whole alley thing. It's about the his baseball mitt, but yeah, I just thought it was worth mentioning again, because it seems like that he really enjoyed writing that, and that really that was kind of a way, that self-expression did something positive for him. It seems like.
Yeah, I think so. He doesn't even realize that's what he's going to write about, and it does seem like there's a kind of catharsis to him doing that. I also thought Holden's internal comment on what Stradlater has to say, he's like you mentioned, Connor, he's like, just put some commas in the wrong place, and Holden thinks to himself, he's like, if you think the difference between what I write and what you write is comma placement, you're even fucking stupider than you look, buddy.
Yeah.
Which is really that's one of those.
The real difference is I use semicolons.
Yeah. Or M dashes, the harbinger of AI. That I feel like that is one of those sharp, justified criticism. I think that Holden's exactly right. And it's one of those things that sort of fuels the I don't know, the fucking skewed way he looks at the world. It's not that Holden's wrong about everything, but I think that the ways in which that he's right encourage him to be even more judgmental. Yeah. I think he's completely spot on about it. It sounds like he has a real gift with writing and with English, even though he also concedes he barely had to do anything because he took the course previously at the school he flunked out of, or a similar course. But even the things that he's good at kind of prop him up and fuel him to look down on people even more, or to judge people even more. And I think it sort of warps his outlook a little. I mean, and that's the crazy thing. There are a lot of very specific details I think we could point to and continue to discuss and pull apart, but they kind of all stack on top of each other to paint this picture of Holden is this weird fucking case study. My takeaway in these first 5 chapters is not oh, what's going to happen next in the plot? What's going on with leaving Pensy Prep and where's he going to go? I'm what is up with this kid and his fucking brain, and certainly that's not a revelation. I think that's a big part of what you're meant to step away with this from. I think Salinger is pushing you toward that very intentionally. And And I guess that's what I'm like most intrigued to try to piece together as we continue and we go on into these next 5 chapters. It's like, what are we going to get that might like illuminate that more?
Yeah.
I want to. I think that a big draw of this is like, being so stuck in Holden's head when you're reading because of the way it's written and everything that we've discussed. Kind of drives you to want to uncover more. It's almost like a psychoanalysis, more than just cracking open a good book or something. Like,
yeah,
I think Salinger's written a very compelling like character in that regard, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think that is how I think that is more of what we're dealing with here. Yeah, and I think it's going to be fun to kind of dive deeper as we make our way through the book. But just like thinking about, because I mentioned before, like Salinger has a lot of really great short stories, and they're not all like this, but I think they are like, I guess, like more of what you would call like character studies or something. Which I really do appreciate. So yeah, I mean, when I started rereading this now for the podcast, I was like, oh man, maybe this was a mistake. But then as I got into, I was like, oh man, I really actually am enjoying this, and I really like spending time with this character. I think this will be fun. So yeah, I'm happy to jump back into it. I think it'll be a lively discussion between the three of us.
Yeah,
I agree.
What do you say, boys? Same time, same place next week?
Well, let's do it.
Maybe a little sooner. Start the podcast a little sooner. But
we'll do our best.
We always do.
We'll do our goddamn best.
Let's do better than Holden's best, though. Please.
No promises.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for listening, folks. We good to wrap up?
Oh yes, please do.
All right. Please check us out on social media. We are at Chapter Chumps on both Twitter and Blue Sky. Please follow or DM or shitpost or I don't know, whatever you want to do with us. Say goodnight to Nova in the background of Josh's video.
Good night, Nova.
Good night, Nova.
Also, jump on over to Apple Podcasts and give us a nice 5-star rating and a lovely. Oh, and say goodnight to Gandalf. He just walked by.
Oh, good night, Gandalf.
Good night, Gandalf.
He just disappeared. All right, there he is again.
Gandalf the
Gray.
Gandalf the Gray short hair.
Yeah. And as always, folks, until next time.
Who wrote Holden Caulfield? They never. I don't think we know who wrote Catcher in the Rye, but who wrote Holden Caulfield?
It's a great question.
We still don't know.
Goodbye.
Okay.
Okay.